What's on, minifans? I had an idea recently to put a different spin on my Zone Mortalis tiles, and this project is the result of that. If you like any of my content, please like, subscribe and comment, and also hit that notification bell to stay up to date. This one really helps with the YouTube algorithm, so I really appreciate it if you do. I have some Amazon links down in the description for my most used items. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get on to building. To begin with, I cast some more of my Zone Mortalis tiles that I made in a previous video. I'll put a link to that in the top right corner now. After they've cured, I hack them up because I want these to look damaged and broken. So yeah, I cut some parts out and I hack it up with wire cutters, and I keep all the damaged parts for later. For the base of this project, I'm using a 30 by 30 centimeter square plywood board, and then I've cut some strips of XPS foam, so it's 5 centimeters high, 2.5 centimeters wide. So this is just an outline, and then I glue this all down with PVA. I'm not going to talk through every part of this project because it does go on for a while, but I'll give you a bit of a rundown. I've got a load of bits of pipe. I've got some PVC pipe, and then some of that sort of banded black pipe, and then some of those kids pipes. And I also use parts of hair curlers to go over the PVC pipe in various locations, and then some of the join. I'm not sure what kind of joins they are, with 4 connection points for PVC pipe. I hack these down a bit because I want these to be sort of flush with the top of the XPS foam, so I just use a hobby saw to cut through that. And then I go about damaging some of these parts, and I just use wire cutters and just sort of hack and rip out sections using pliers as well, because I want this, to all look damaged, and I keep all the broken away bits for later. Now I had a few thoughts about the sort of base, that wooden bit. Initially I was just going to paint it black, so it just looked like some kind of, chasm, but you'll be able to see that. So my next idea was to do a bit of a resin pour, but I decided that wouldn't look quite right. So in the end I just went nice and simple, covered it in PVA glue, and then some of that fine metal mesh. To add a little more detail on some of the kids' pipes, I use some sections of cable ties just in between the sort of the wider bits, and then I just glue this on with super glue. And then I glue some of those hair curler sections onto some of the PVC pipe as well. I also sand down, I give everything a bit of a buff with a sanding stick to make sure, paint sticks to it a bit better. I'm getting on to assembling now, but what I want to do is make the joins between the pipes and the XPS foam as strong as possible. So I roll up some cardboard and stuff it or stick it into the ends of the pipes, so I've got more of a surface to glue on with, and then I just glue that with super glue and then glue the whole thing to the XPS foam with PVA. So yeah, I put pretty much all these pipes in now. The final pipes I add here are actually from like a water purifier, but any sort of bendy pipe would do. Now what I've done is cut some sections of a thicker straw, and these fit perfectly over the two different diameters of pipe I'm using here. So I whack on sections all the way along, and then to attach these on, what I do is stick some cocktail sticks down the ends, PVA glue it, and then just ram it into the XPS foam. I want some kind of chemical spill from the burst pipe sections, the burst PVC pipe sections. And I didn't really want to use resin or anything like that, so I just used hot glue. Just got it as hot as possible, and then, just poured it, or well, melted it in between the pipe sections. Onto the outside of the XPS foam, I've got some gaps, and you can see the joins between the pieces, so I use a bit of filler and just fill those gaps. After that's dried, I give it a sand off camera. I do a bit of sealing here, mainly the XPS foam, but I give it all sort of a bit of a once over with Mod Podge, watered down Mod Podge with a bit of black paint chucked in. And then after that's all dried, I glue in some of those extra pieces of PVC piping we created with the damage from earlier. So these just get glued in various locations with PVA. I want to make some more sort of rubble from the destroyed tiles above, and I figure it's some kind of concrete-y type material. So what I've ripped up some XPS foam into little chunks. I mix this with some real coarse sand. They're kind of little stones actually. I mix this up with some PVA. Just coat it all. So this is sealing it as well. And then I just kind of using a coffee stirrer, just kind of squidge it into different areas so it glues down nice and strongly. Onto the tiles now. Now I want rebar or something like that in between some of the intact tiles and then some of those broken bits. So I just drill into the tiles with my pin vise and then attach them with bits of wire and then just super glue those together. And then I want some more sort of really destroyed bits of concrete. So I just use probably 3-4 mil thick bits of XPS foam, hack them up a bit with a craft knife, and then do the same thing, bit of wire, and then into the more intact tiles. Any bits of XPS foam I use here, I do seal with Mod Podge because I'm going to spray paint it after, and this will melt that XPS foam. Alright, so we've primed everything black and then base coated it burnt umber. So this is the tiles and the base. And then I just give it all a heavy dry brush of silver. Right, for the PVC pipe and the kids pipes, I paint these red and blue, and I do that scratchy method of painting, so you've got some of the silver showing through. And then what I actually do, after these have both dried, I then come in with a sponge attached to a stick and sponge on, for the blue pipes, lighter blue towards the top, and then lighter red for the red pipes. For the two bent pipes, I just do the same method but with black, and then instead of sponging on a lighter colour, I do a heavy sort of dry brush with a fine makeup brush, just grey on the topmost surface, and it actually kind of looks like the pipe is then ribbed, which looks kind of cool. I then come in and paint some of that sort of rubble I made earlier, just a grey, because I'm going to do the tiles grey. Now I actually make a bit of a mistake now. I shouldn't do this bit quite yet, but it doesn't really matter. But I've basically mixed up, using my homemade web palette here, I've gone from darkish green all the way up to yellow, and I use the darker green to base coat the sort of toxic waste, the hot glue we laid down earlier. Alright, so now it's black washing time, and I just use my homemade black wash. I'll release a video for that later, just to show you how I do it. So anyway, I black wash the whole lot, and then dab off some of that black wash off some of the brighter colours, so the blues and the reds. Back to that toxic sludge, so I just clean up any bits I went over with black wash using the same, the dark green. It's in my wet palette, so it stayed wet. And then I basically do kind of wet blending. It's a little bit messy, but I go from the edges being darker right to the middle, which is almost yellow, and I just do this on all the different bits. Alright, back to the tiles. I'm doing the centres the same as all the other tiles I've made in the past. So I've mixed up a grey, trying to get it to the same shade as the previous tiles. And then, I do the tedious part of painting all the insides of those tiles, trying to avoid the metal bits. I didn't actually show, but earlier I'd glued on some of the broken sections of tiles where they would have fallen down, with the pipes. And I've painted these the same way. So that grey is now dried. What I do next is dry brush some white lightly in the centre of each of the tiles, just trying to get a bit of sort of variation. As a final bit of detail, on one of those tile sections, I mask off a kind of line and then sponge on white. Then peel that masking tape off, and beautiful, no leaking, awesome. On to rust. Now I'll actually do a separate, very short video showing how I make this kind of paste, but yeah, I just dab this paint, this rust paste on in different locations, just using an old brush. Once that textured rust paint has dried, I, again using my sponge on a stick, I sponge on burnt umber around those bits, kind of blending in a little bit more. And I also do some burnt umber sponge on in just various other locations for a bit of sort of grime. And then after that's dried, I sponge on orange on the rusty bits. getting there now. So what I do next is dry brush a bit of black around some of the broken sections of tiles for like soot or some kind of build-up. Woohoo, so close now. Next up, assembly time. So we just whack a load of PVA glue onto that XPS foam and then stick those tiles down. I use a little bit of super glue as well to attach bits of tiles to the pipes. As a few final finishing touches, I come in with brown and black inks and do some stains in different locations, and then I come in with some gloss varnish and go over the toxic waste to try and get it nice and shiny. And that is the job done. Here are some photos of the finished piece. Hope you enjoyed the video. I really enjoyed building this one. That was awesome. Anyway, I will see you in the next one. Cheers for now.